Hunter is a vast open-world hunting simulator that rewards diligent players with endless opportunities to get that warm sense of satisfaction that comes from setting out to achieve a task and then achieving it. Not to mention the beautiful views as you explore the Pacific Northwest. But this is a big game about big game, so where do you start? Well, to help you out, here's 6 essential beginner's tips to get started in Way of the Hunter. Number 1. Work at your own pace. You're not Master Chief, you're a guy looking after his grandfather's hunting lodge, and your job is to ethically hunt wild animals as a source of meat for high-end restaurants. So, you stalk things, you kill things, and then you sell them. Or you can turn them into elaborate dioramas to celebrate your achievements. And because there's no telly in the shack. The thing to remember is that you are under no time pressure whatsoever. You're not here to rack up a body count. In fact, if you shoot more than 2 or 3 bullets per day, you're probably doing it wrong. Which brings us to number 2. Your gun is a tool, not a weapon. Basically, the only way you can take damage in Way of the Hunter is via misadventure. So your firearms are categorically not for self-defense. They are ideally for making quick, clean kills. There's a lot of them to choose from, they have a number of different uses and ammo types, and each of them is rated for a specific size of prey. Too powerful a rifle can reduce small game and birds to a cloud of red vapour, making them worthless in the process. And if your gun isn't powerful enough, well, you're just wasting your time then, aren't you? Pay special attention to the hunting tier that your prey is in, and make sure you've got the right weapon for the job. Bonus tip, the best way to hunt birds like wild duck or pheasant, you know what birds are, is to try and get about 25 meters from them and blast them with a shotgun. But because these animals tend to cluster in groups, and shotguns, as you'll know from video games, have quite a wide cone of damage, you can sometimes get multiple birds in one shot. This is great for you because it's double the money, or an attractive sideboard ornament in half the time. Again, there's no telly out here. Number 3. Don't drive everywhere, but also drive everywhere. Okay, Way of the Hunter gives you a vast amount of territory to roam around in. Long tracts of wild land in the Pacific Northwest and Transylvania. So there's no getting around it, you need a motor. But you have to be careful because once you enter an animal's territory, it can hear you. And it can especially hear you if you're riding around on top of a controlled explosion. So, if you're on a hunt, leave the car at least 500 meters away from your target area, otherwise your dinner's just going to get spooked and it's a waste of petrol. It is useful to have nearby though, because it lets you access your storage without having to go back to the ranch, which is a godsend if, for example, you're about to shoot a wee duck and you realise that all you've got with you is your high caliber big game rifle that's liable to reduce it to atoms. This didn't actually happen to me, I was just filming it to show you I'm no an idiot. Remember though, not every excursion is going to be a hunt. Your car is vital for exploring, finding points of interest and towers, and scouting habitats, which is an essential part of the preparation you'll want to do ahead of a successful kill. Bonus tip, if you've fast travelled back to the lodge and left your car in the wilderness, it'll still be in the wilderness when you get up the next morning. Obviously, that's physics. However, you don't have to traipse back out there to retrieve it. Just interact with the parking sign and it will spawn right next to you. That's not physics, that's video games. Number 4. Gather your senses. Your hunter sense is the most useful tool you have. Seriously, with it you can detect all sorts of life signs and understand what they mean, from distant noises in the woods to foraging signs that will tell you where an animal feeds and how often it does so. This information is your bread and butter as a hunter. Without it, you'll be wasting countless hours wandering around with nothing to shoot. It's also important for using your rifle effectively. When aiming a shot, keep your hunter sense active. It'll tell you how far away your target is so you can zero the scope properly and gauge whether or not you need to aim high or low. Number 5. Don't chase, ambush. The encyclopedia is your friend. There are 2 ways to play Way of the Hunter. You can spot an animal in the wild and try and sneak up on it, end up chasing it into the woods, and unless you're really lucky, come home with nothing. Or instead of trying to get them where you find them, you can try and be there when they arrive. Mind all that intel you gathered with hunter sense? It means you know where animals hang out, but what makes it doubly useful is knowing when they hang out. Your encyclopedia is a treasure trove of useful information on animal behaviours, how sensitive they are to noises, or how they behave when they've been shot, and, most importantly, what their schedules are. So if you scout an area for signs of foraging and then cross-reference that with the encyclopedia, you will know roughly when and where the prey will show up, and all you've got to do then is be there first. I mean, you've also got to do other stuff like not get impatient and make sure you've got the right gun, but we've covered all that. Bonus tip, wild animals are nervous creatures with highly evolved senses of smell, so even if you do everything right, you can still mess up and spook them just by being your manky human self. But the wind can be your ally here. If you approach from the right direction, with a little luck, it'll carry your smell away from the prey. You can check the direction it's going here, and if you look at the world map, you'll see your odour emanating from your position as a big cone of purple vapour, so you know exactly who can smell you and who can't. Ew. Number 6. It matters where you aim. Where you shoot an animal is important. It's definitely not ethical to injure an animal that you then can't harvest, because it's still alive in the woods somewhere, in a lot of pain, meaning you've got to run around following blood trails all over the countryside. And look, the whole thing is a big faff that both you and the animal want to avoid. It's recommended to aim for the heart and lungs, because getting a clean shot on those vitals should make for a quick kill without causing too much damage to the produce, saving you and it a lot of bother. Bonus tip, if you're having a really hard time tracking some prey and you wish you had a, camera in the sky so you could get a bird's eye view of the situation, and you don't mind cheesing the game a little bit, you could always just flick into photo mode and have a little peek. Maybe? I mean, who's gonna know? I'm not gonna tell anyone. I've been Jim Trinker for VG247, and Way of the Hunter is out now for PC, PS5 and Xbox Series.